Hello, friends, and good afternoon for your first edition, latest edition, next edition of the Happy Half Hour Training Camp Daily Special. Woohoo!
Complete with dance.
We are going to do this thing every day during training camp when there is practice. That means most days. When the Carolina Panthers are on a football field, we are going to be in your ear holes, or you can watch us.
Don't say it that way.
Or you can watch us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, on your way home. Don't do that on your way home while you're driving. That would be unsafe, and we don't want that.
Unless you know exactly where to set the phone.
Exactly. Actually, no, just don't do that. That seems like a thing a millennial does that I can never sanction.
You know, millennials are like adults, which is why we've grown up in a world
Allegedly.
where we know how to put the phone in such a place when we're driving to watch it without still being safe.
Alleged adults would have that conversation right there. So anyway, we got to do this thing. It is time. First of all, though, before we get into Panthers news, how about a special shout-out to our neighbors down the street, the Charlotte Hornets, your Charlotte Hornets, the kings of the NBA Summer League, won the championship last night with a dramatic win over the Sacramento Kings. I know you watched that.
Sure.
You did not. Can you name one Hornet who played in the Summer League?
In the Summer League?
We're going to work on your citizenship. For one thing, you're driving around watching videos in your car. And for another thing, you don't even know about the great Con Knippel, the latest savior of the Charlotte Hornets franchise.
Oh, wait. I did see that on Twitter last night.
Yeah,
did he win MVP?
He did win the MVP.
Yes. I did see that picture.
So we are all fired up about Con Knippel and the Charlotte Hornets, restoring some
quite a name.
Sanity back to basketball here in this town. It's been a long time, 10 years since they've been in the regular playoffs, but they got in the Summer League playoffs and just went ahead and won it for good measure. And in honor of that win, I brought our toy of the day, our latest little treasure back here on the shelf behind me. That's bobblehead Paul Silas.
Cool.
And on account of you driving around looking at videos and all the other millennial silliness you're responsible for today already, I'm not even going to expect you to understand who Paul Silas is.
Wait, he had an MVP, a couple of MVPs. He was on something.
No.
You read off the list earlier.
Yeah, no.
I did not pay attention in class.
Paul Silas, of course, won a couple 3 titles with the Boston Celtics before he became the head coach of the Charlotte Hornets, replacing Dave Cowens, another Celtics legend. It was good times. Used to have good times here in basketball, and they're coming back thanks to our resilient Summer League Hornets champion. So let's get to the football. That's what the people came here for. And it's Rookie Report Day.
And they reported.
They
were all here by 9 a.m. this morning.
And that is a thing
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
They are all in the building. The news of the day, and, since we've podcasted with you last, is that Nic Scourton got his contract signed. Not really a surprise. That was kind of my manufactured drama of the offseason this year. Second-round contract status became a thing because last Monday, the 15th, exactly 2 second-rounders were signed. Then over the course of the week, they started signing, and then they just all start trickling in behind it. It's contractual. It's minutia that's not really germane to the football part of this thing. And as one of the smartest people I've ever met in the NFL told me once upon a time, rookie contract signings are kind of like potty training kids. We all worry about it and fret about when it's going to happen and freak out if it doesn't happen according to our schedule, but it always ends up happening. So
it always rises.
Nic Scourton is here. His contract is signed. He is in the building along with Teteroa McMillan and the rest of the draft class. It's Rookie Report Day. So that's where we are today.
Nick was bouncing around this morning. It was fun. He was just he was excited. He was asking people, like, did you see I signed my contract? Did you see I signed my contract? Like, he was excited just to have it done as well. And, Darin, I've covered teams before who were at this point of training camp who had half of the class still unsigned. So that's never where you want to be as a team, but always a nice little load off when you can head into training camp and you've got your entire rookie class signed. And I don't know if anybody in the building was happier about it today than Nic Scourton was. He was certainly letting – if you didn't know that the contract was done, he was letting you know by 9 a.m. this morning.
That's awesome. And Nick's got an important role to play around here. I mean, you draft a guy in the second round. You anticipate him stepping in and becoming part of your rotation at pass rush anyway. But Nick's had an eventful, summer so far. Yeah. I mean, he has And you wrote about this. You went over to the hotel and talked to him and Princely about all the supplemental homework they were kind of doing on their own this spring to get ready for it, because we're anticipating those guys both having to contribute early on.
Yeah, and I think they really could. You know, they came in knowing that this was going to be a tall hill to climb. You know, I've heard coaches say before, and I think there's a lot to it, that's one of the hardest positions to transition with from college to the NFL. And it's because it is at that position, at pass rusher, where you realize, perhaps more than any other position on the field, just how much faster the game is at the NFL level than it is at college. You know, there's a huge difference between 2.7 seconds and 3.2 seconds when you're a pass rusher. And that makes that's the difference between a sack and a big completion. And so it's a big jump coming from college at that position. And these are two guys as well, or Nic Scourton, you know, who came out a little early. Princely did go back for another year just to kind of get another year under his belt at the college level. But these are two guys who are still relatively young as well, but that gives you a lot of future with them. And they complement each other's game so well. And we saw that a lot throughout OTAs and through mandatory minicamp. They are not the same pass rusher in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And that bodes well for the Carolina Panthers. And so I think they know that, and they realize that. You know, they talked about that when we were at the hotel with them, which go check that out on Panthers.com if you haven't. How they knew that they had to be on the field at the same time and complement each other as much as they could. And that they know it's not going to necessarily be a game week one, like come out and be a star, but that there is a lot of potential and a lot of future there. And it's already started. It started as soon as they got here, that first rookie minicamp.
Yeah, no doubt. And those two also have mentors to get them get their feet wet in the NFL as they go through this thing. Pat Jones came in this offseason in free agency. DJ Wanham. It feels like DJ Wanham's been here for a long time, even though he only played 8 games last year, as he came back from some medical problems. But when he came back, he was productive, 4 sacks in those 8 games. And really, you could tell a difference in that defense in terms of the pressure they were creating when he got back out there on the field. But they went out, you know, obviously, along with Tershawn Wharton, Bobby Brown, Trayvon Merrick, Christian Roseboom. Pat Jones was one of those day one free agency, you know, here's the emphasis we're putting on this. We're signing 5 guys who are going to be contributors on day one. So they've got role models in Pat and DJ to kind of help shepherd them along through this thing. But I think it's going to be important for both those guys, honestly, to contribute early on because, you know, the Carolina Panthers are trying to get back to a place of stability on defense. And having that kind of pass rusher, you always need more than one.
You're right. And
having one good guy is good. Having 2 good guys is that much better. I tend to go back to the old days, as you may be aware. Lamar Lathan was here in 1995 and was pretty good. When Kevin Green was next to him the following year, both of them were even better. So that second one is kind of a force multiplier. And the hope is that these 2 guys turn into some kind of version of Kevin Green and Lamar Lathan, and a lot of people would be fired up about that.
And that's a position, too, where it's hard to be an every down guy.
Right.
So the more you can have, the more you can rotate, especially depending on the situation, is helpful. And you've got that now. And I think you're going to see a lot of Nic Scourton and Princely Umanmielian as we get into the season. And, you know, whether it's in respite of or respite, I'm sorry, I said it wrong, of Pat Jones and...
You said Umanmielian right and then tripped over respite.
You know how, like, there's words that you just read all the time and they're not necessarily a part of your everyday vernacular? And so you know what they look like, but you don't necessarily remember how they sound?
Right.
I do that with respite. I did it for the longest time with prologue. I mess that one up all the time. But anyways...
How did you say that?
I don't even remember, but I know it was wrong.
I know you're a product of the Alabama public schools, but
Okay.
every now and then you act like a homeschool kid who reads these words and never talks to people and hears them out loud. But, anyway,
they can come in as a breather for DJ Wanham and Pat Jones. They could even partner up with them, you know, put Pat Jones and Princely out there at the same time, or DJ and Nick, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And so I think and to your point about the mentorship, that's something that AC Carter actually purposely did. Like, he gave every rookie a veteran, almost like a big brother, little brother situation, and like basically told the veterans like, this one's your responsibility.
That's right.
And both Princely and Nic have talked about how much that has meant to them already and really kind of helped them come along that much quicker in the playbook.
Mm-hmm. And I got a kick out of talking to A.C. Carter during the offseason. He comes from an educational background. He's got a lot of teachers and principals and guidance counselors and such in his family back in New Orleans, and he takes a very educational psychology approach to this. So he's got those guys on a each one teach one plan right now, and I think it's good. I mean, and those two do have an opportunity. Of course, they are just two members of a rookie class with a lot of dudes they are counting on for big things this year. I think, obviously, Teteroa McMillan, the number 8 overall pick, is the guy they've got the biggest plans for early on this offseason. And one of the cool things about him is watching him kind of come in and fit into a group that had been pretty productive over the second half of last year and really adding elements to it. When you see him out there moving around on the field, you understand why he's a top 10 pick because he's got a frame, he's got arms out here like a pterodactyl wingspan, and he can catch it. And I still remember, it's one of the things I'll remember about this draft for years to come. When I was talking to Canales after they picked Teteroa that night, he was like, and in video this works. If you're listening to us on the audio channels, A, we appreciate that, and B, you're just going to have to go theater of the mind here for a second. But Canales was talking about McMillan, and he said, I like him because he catches it here, and he catches it here, and he catches it here, and he was moving his arms all around as far as Dave Canales could reach, and he was like, the point is to catch the ball, and he catches it wherever it is. And you saw that throughout the spring.
Yeah, he's a hands catcher for sure, which for a guy that young is always a little nice to see, because that's something that you can teach, but if you don't have to, you're that much farther along. And he's got soft hands, which bodes well, because Canales and Brad Idzik are big on like kind of shuffling guys around and nobody necessarily being the set X, Y, Z, F, letting guys kind of move around. But I mean, let's be honest, we can call a spade a spade. They were missing a huge downfield guy, and they kind of have that now with T-Mac. But to Canales' point, he can still also kind of be in other places. And the more you can move guys around to put them in different places, the more confusing you are for a defense.
Right. And, obviously, as you've seen over the last couple of weeks, Adam Thielen takes him to Minnesota and takes him under his wing. They go out on the lake, had a little bit of fun with Xavier Liggett, not necessarily wanting to get in Lake Minnetonka or whatever
Darin,
lake it is. There's 10,000 of them.
It is land of 10,000 lakes.
That's right.
Literally. We had some comments on our YouTube video from our last podcast. Apparently, you and I went full Southern and didn't even know it. I guess there are not alligators in the lakes in Minnesota. Pardon me. There's just Loch Ness monsters or whatever.
Sometimes you say things like that and it just kind of flies past the radar. I feel like if I would have recognized that you were talking about alligators in a Minnesota lake, I would have probably flagged that.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it. I just heard, I'm from Alabama. I see a body of water. I assume there's an alligator, and I assume there's water moccasins in there.
Oh, my God.
Do you know where the 2 largest alligators in the history of recorded time have been found?
Tell me.
Number 1 and number 2, found in Miller's Ferry, Alabama, which is on the Alabama River outside of Huntsville.
Is this like a roadside attraction in Alabama?
Go see the biggest gator.
Go see the biggest alligator
I think
ever.
the last one they pulled out that set a new record was like 16 foot. That's a big gator.
I think you're giving me reason for pause here. I'm going to have to fact check a lot of these claims. I need to see if the biggest alligator in history actually is from Alabama.
I'm gonna Google it.
Not right now. You can do this later. Lord knows we got enough other stuff to do. But no, we were talking about Xavier Liggett, and one of the cool things to me throughout the spring was watching the way him and T-Mac play off of each other a little bit.
They could not be more different.
No. I mean, these two guys, you got country South Carolina and chilled out Southern California by way of Hawaii. Culturally, the way they grew up couldn't be any more different, but they've got a vibe going right now, don't they?
They do. I think we said this last week too, but I would love to watch that buddy cop movie. I think that they've definitely got an odd couple thing going there, but it works for them, and they have found something with each other. And again, I know you mentioned this last week, but just to reiterate, I think there was some assumption that there would be competition there. And I'm sure there is in some level, some good natured brotherly competition. But more than anything, they're looking for each other. Like, if one of them catches the ball on the field, like during practice, they're looking for the other one. And that really is a picture. It's a perfect, it's the epitome of everything Canales has kind of been saying of always come back to us. We control us, always come back to us, look for each other. And you see that with Tetero and Xavier.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be cool. And it's a neat setup having an Adam Thielen and having a Hunter Renfrow around in that room. You've got a couple guys who've been through it, who've seen it. David Moore is a vet.
David Moore, that's the other one.
Who has seen a lot of stuff and knows this offense and knows what Dave Canales expects as well as anybody. And now you've got these 2 first-round picks, which really gives you a chance to grow this thing and develop it over time. I mean, Dave Canales is an old wide receivers coach. And if you ever want to see him get wound up, start talking about the particulars of wide receiver play. I mean, he's got a plan in his head for what XL is going to look like in year 2 and year 3 and the steps he's going to take along the way because he's been out there. I mean, DK Metcalf is a guy of similar dimension to XL, who Dave's seen up close and personal and become one of those guys. So he knows what it looks like. He knows what it takes to develop those guys over the course of years. And I think the fact that they get along as well as they do speaks well to what's coming here maybe over the next couple of years.
And, to that point, you wrote a story about this today that people can also go read on Panthers.com about, Canales has made such an effort to make sure that this is a player-led team built from the ground up. And that's another good example. Legette's only in his second year, but he immediately took in T-Mac and was like, okay, we're going to do this together. And, that gets helped when you've got guys like Thielen and Renfrow and David Moore. David Moore is such an underrated one, too, when it comes to that. Like you said, somebody that's been with Canales forever and knows what needs to be done to make this offense work, both on and off the field. Right. And you see that across the team, and you see it more so in different places, that whole player-led aspect of it. But the wide receiver one is definitely a big one where it could pay a lot of dividends.
And listen, this doesn't have anything to do with Tetero and McMillan, but the other thing that's happening at that position that I think is a really good sign for the development of these guys is Friday morning, I was in here doing some stuff, finishing up some paperwork while I was also writing a mailbag last weekend. And I go down the elevator, and you hear that, thump, 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 and you realize somebody's on the jugs machine.
Yeah.
It's Xavier Leggett.
Oh, nice.
And XL, really, from the Philadelphia game on last year, which obviously everybody remembers the way that one ended, he has come back determined to work on that problem. And it reminds me so much. I mean, right after that Eagles game, he went over on the practice field after practice that following week and was out there with Chuba and Tommy, who are like the patron saints of the jugs machine here. And he was out there with Chuba and Tommy, and he was like, I'm going to get this right. And he continued to work on it. And it's one thing to do that kind of work when a bunch of people are watching. When you're Xavier Leggett the week after the Eagles game last year, everybody anticipates you working on that. When it's Friday, July 15th or whatever that was, or Monday, July 21st or whatever day today is, and he's in here doing the work in those quiet times when nobody's really in the stadium, that's a good sign. And it's evidence that he's serious about getting better at the part of the game he needs to work on.
I was actually downstairs about 20 minutes before we were recording this podcast, and guess who was down there on the jugs machine?
That's right. He's doing it. I mean, it's and listen, Chuba Hubbard is the perfect role model for this because Chuba's rookie year, he's backing up CMC, he's not getting a lot of time. And there were a couple of drops along the way, and he dedicated himself to fixing this thing he was less good at, and now he's proficient at it. Now, I've got all the respect in the world for the way Chuba works and the way he earned that extension, and they gave him that extension almost for the way he works and the role model he has become as much as the yards and the touchdowns and that kind of those things are good. That's the reason. But Chuba is the leader they want guys to follow.
The leader stuff is what made it easy to bring the deal to the table, I think.
No doubt. So anyway, rookies are in the building. just out of curiosity, other than those top 3 picks who get all the attention, is there a rookie in this class you're most interested in seeing how they develop over the course of training camp?
Yeah, and this one's also still a cliche answer, but I want to see what Jimmy Horn does because we know he has his speed. Like that's obviously what he's known for, and understandably so. What else does he bring?
Mm-hmm.
What else can he do? And he talked about that as well. Wanting to kind of make sure he's versatile enough to be worthy of a spot on the 53 when it comes to that, and they're making those decisions, especially as a lower round guy.
Yeah.
And he worked on it here and there. He worked on it throughout the offseason with OTAs and minicamp. Now's his chance to prove like he's versatile enough to be worthy of one of those spots. And the speed comes into play a lot, on certain gadget plays, and especially as a returner, something else he's kind of worked on. But he knows that can't be his only thing on his calling card. Right. So I want to see what else he brings to the field as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I think if I had another rookie I'm most curious about seeing, it's going to be Ryan Fitzgerald, the kicker from Florida State. I mean, he is here competing for a job.
That wasn't a laugh at the Ryan Fitzgerald. It was just, I don't know why.
You thought I was going to talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick, didn't you?
I did. Because I saw the Ryan Fitz on your computer screen, and I actually thought to myself, why is he Googling Ryan Fitzpatrick? Like, what is this about?
No, that would be Ryan Fitzgerald, the Florida State kicker, who is in here competing with Matthew Wright, who's a veteran who's been here before for that kicking job. And listen, there's no guarantee that the Carolina Panthers kicker this year is either Ryan Fitzgerald or Matthew Wright. It could always be somebody from out there at the great unknown. I mean, the 33rd kicker in the NFL is one of those positions who ends up somewhere nobody's expecting every season. And so these guys have an opportunity to compete right now. Fitzgerald's got a big leg, and he's been really productive in the last couple of years. So it's going to be fascinating for me to see how that kicking competition develops, because these two are not just competing against each other. They're competing against the rest of the kicking world.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So,
good job, Darin. Another one, can I
go ahead.
Audible and throw another one out there? Someone that we haven't talked a lot about is Lathan Ransom, because that's a safety unit that is bereft of depth. And so there's opportunity there for any of the guys. And, you've got a couple of rookies in Damani Richardson, or rookies from last year, second-year guys now in Damani Richardson and Shamar Bartholomew, who kind of, earned a reason to be out there at times, Damani especially. But then you've got a veteran like Nic Scourton.
Yeah.
All of that to say, and what they do with Merrick is going to play a lot into that as well. There is chances there for a guy like Lathan Ransom, who really kind of made a reputation for himself at the college level of being a ball hawk, which is something you can't always show in OTAs, but where you can show it? Joint practice.
That's right. Joint practice
and
and
they've got 2 of them
preseason
this year.
games. So, and it is. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's where
because
Damani Richardson made his name for
that's
him
right.
last
I
year.
mean, those guys have reps at their disposal, and that's one of the most important things this time of year, because if you flash back to last year's training camp, Tommy Trimble was out with a little bit of an injury, Ian Thomas was held out, and J.T. Sanders got a ton of work during training camp. Right now, the Carolina Panthers haven't gone out and signed that veteran safety that a lot of people thought they might. They still might. I mean, I think that's going to be an open question until it isn't. And that thing's going to evolve over the course of the offseason, I'm sure. But for right now, at this moment, Damani Richardson and Lathan Ransom get a lot of reps, and one of those two, as it stands right now, might be a starter in the NFL in week 1, depending on what happens roster-wise the rest of the year. I mean, again, Lathan Ransom's a guy we know from seeing him at Ohio State. It's always around the ball. He's smart. He's a good special teams player. And I think, that's at least going to be the role for him in the short term, but that role could grow based on what he does with these reps coming up next 4 or 5 weeks.
For sure. And to kind of put a bow on all of that, as we get to the field on Wednesday and we get into practice, it's important to remember what this team looks like right now and what it will look like on July 23rd is going to be completely different from what it looks like on August 28th.
Yeah.
And that's exciting, at least from our point of view.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. And I think that having this many competitions for jobs, Dan Morgan, Brant Tillis, and those guys on the personnel side have done such a good job of raising the floor here personnel-wise this offseason. Now there are fights for roster spots, not just starting jobs. You've increased the competition across the the roster. There are certain positions. We talked about wide receiver a lot today. There are a number of other spots like that, and we'll get into all that in the days and weeks to come. For now, this is the Rookie Report Day edition of the Happy Half Hour Training Camp Special.
Do your dance.
Thanks to Cassidy Hill. Thanks to bobblehead Paul Silas. Congratulations to the Charlotte Hornets. We'll see y'all tomorrow.